Hello everyone! Welcome to the black screen, apparently. I am playing Guild Wars. Why is it not hooking? Hello? Weird. It should be. It usually would be. Oh dear. Very strange. See, this is why we need a just chatting screen back. I was literally talking to... What the hell is going on here? Oh no. Let's see, hold on. I am here. Should we make list big so that it's at least... Wow. Hold on, but I haven't changed anything about Guild Wars. I haven't changed anything about the setup at all. Capture third-party overlays such as Steam. No, it's not anything to do with that. Capture cursor. Oh, I did update OBS, but hold on, I think I updated OBS last week. Oh, this is awful, isn't it? This is truly awful. Match title, otherwise fine. Window title must match. Yeah, it's... Oh, there, it flickered for a second. There we go. Weird. No idea what that was. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Weird episode here today. One, because I streamed a black screen for about 30 seconds. Two, it's currently 2 a.m. It is 2 a.m. on a bright, sunny August morning. Okay, it's not sunny. It's the middle of the night. Yeah, I've had a shitload going on IRL. I laid down. I was exhausted. I laid down about 2 o'clock this afternoon. I was in Discord, and someone already posted the fucking blog post came out. But I was so tired. I thought I have to nap before this. Still had some stuff to do. Sorted that out. Put my eyes down at about 3, and I had that weird thing. I'm not going to say it was insomnia or anything, but I had that weird thing where I knew I was really tired, but I couldn't quite sleep. And then, you know, and I really thought, because I've got a pretty reasonable, like, consistent sleep schedule at the moment. And then boom, I slept and slept and slept, and all of a sudden it was like 1 in the morning with me waking up at 1 in the morning. Can you believe that? So I was like, shit, you know, shit. I was like, Senator Davis. That's not his accent at all. He's from Baltimore. Not whatever the hell I just did. But yeah, I figured I want to shoot this stuff. I want to record about the elite specs. I'm really excited, and you know, we'll spin a regular YouTube video off. So I thought, you know what? It's the middle of the night. The regular people who would be watching won't be able to watch this live, but another group of you guys, you can. And immediately there in the premiere messages, while we were sitting around waiting, you know, I've had a bunch of people saying, hey, I don't usually be able to catch it, and now I can. So hello to anybody who's managed to make it. I guess you're OCX time zone, maybe you're West Coast America. I don't know, places far away from me. And it's nice to do a random stream every now and then for a different slot. Anyway, so yeah, the plan today is it's Wednesday, or I guess no, technically it's Thursday now. The blog post just came out, and I'm going to be we're going to talk about the final 3 elite specializations. That's the Elementalist, that's the Revenant, that's the Thing, and the Engineer. And I'll spin it into a video section in just a minute. In the meantime, I don't know, let's just have a quick little chat. Now, I have been spoiled slightly, not because of anyone in the community, not because of any messages that have just flown by here in chat, but because I had to grab screenshots for this video. I probably shouldn't have said all this, because I'm going to have to say it in the video section again in a second. So, I do know who the Rev Legend is, because it was very obvious as I was grabbing the screenshot. And then, like, I tried to, like, you know when you're you're looking at text, but you're specifically not trying to not inhale that text? You know, I was trying to, like, keep my eyes blurry or whatever, only look at it peripherally, even though I was trying to snip it out, the correct dimensions and everything. And but even then, I still caught the letters R-A-Z-A-E-H in there, so, yeah. Anyway, yeah, what was everybody saying here? Jeremy says, I'm excited to see his thoughts on these last 3 more, since there's lore involved. There's more lore involved. I feel like they've done all right with lore in all of them. X Marks Eden says, my man, I'm on my night shift. It's 3 a.m. I'm ready to watch. I was bored as hell. That's awesome, dude. That is awesome. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, look, it's not just people far away. I think someone said hello from Wales just now. You know, Wales isn't far away. You know, some of us are just working nights. That's all it is. That is all it is. And my heart goes out to all of you. And how horrible that is. I totally came around on Evoker based on the lore revealed for them. You wasn't initially digging the flavor. Really? Interesting. Oh, I'm curious what that's going to be then in a second. Jimmer Ken says, I've been refreshing YouTube all day for this. Yeah, sorry, I was getting my beauty sleep. So I let you down there. You didn't need to do the first 9 hours of refreshing. You was wondering where I was the last 2 days. Hold on, the blog's barely 12 hours old. It's just about. I mean, a thief was ever have to have a pet. A script, which by nature is also a thief, does make logical sense. But a guitar, really? Well, the guitar isn't a pet. I do believe in script as a pet, by the way. Oh yeah, so we can do a bit of a live stream recap. By the way, the Festival of the Four Winds is going on. I love this map. The event sucks because of mounts now. Sorry. I mean, look, the skimmer slalom they added doesn't suck. Obviously, that's built around it. But all the shit about, you know, collecting crystals and the treasure hunt and everything. Oh, man. So, whatever. Anyway, I do love this map. I really do. I quite like this festival. This is actually the first festival. You might look at me as an achievement point hunter, right? Because I've got a pretty good amount of achievement points. I'm hoping to hit 50k with the next X pack, right? Which definitely puts me in the upper echelon. But as far as festivals are concerned, I've always been really lax about them. I've never been very good. Just as a person, I'm not very good at... Like, if I'm not into Guild Wars... Or thinking about AP right when a certain festival comes out, I'm not the kind of person that will sit there and pressure myself to adhere to a strict routine of doing the dailies to get the AP. That's just not who I am, right? Like if I'm in the middle of some other, you know, like last year when I was doing the big Zeus LP, I wouldn't have just suddenly, I wouldn't be like, oh, got to make sure to squeeze in time for it. It just wouldn't be on my mind at all. I assume most people are like that, to be honest. You know, when it comes to our leisure time. But anyway, so because of that, I didn't have many festival AP. There's 2 festival AP. There's the bulk of 50 you get for doing the annual. And for most of those, I'm super behind, and that's a lot of AP. But there's also like 5 AP you can get for repeatedly doing the dailies, and then another 5, and then another 5 until it caps at some level. I hadn't hit the cap on any of the festivals for that. None of them. So every festival, I've always logged in and been like, okay, you got to do the dailies if I've been into the game. This is the first festival, I've been like that for a little while now. This is the first festival release ever, right here, right now, where the festival came in and I'm already at daily cap. So I got my annual on day 1, which was yesterday. I got the annual. And now I'm just sort of thinking, well, what do I want to do? I mean, they add skins. They're always spamming new skins. The amount of festival skins in the game is crazy. Absolutely. I almost wanted to do a Jim Carrey. Crazy there. I just watched Yes Man, which I think starts really strong, by the way. The way that movie, like, makes the idea of being a yes man feel real. He's very clever. Watching his cynicism about it, watching him break, he goes to the conference, he has a little moment of catharsis, immediately relapses on it as he's walking to the car, he doesn't really care. But then he kind of gets pushed into driving the homeless guy, and his friend pushes him, and then it's terrible, but he's like, fuck it. It's really, really, really well scripted, and it's very logical and very good. Anyway, yeah, they keep adding skins, and so maybe I'll do the festival for those. My motivation is way lower. I maintain what I said at the start of this year. I really believe in player cards, right? When you're in a party and you get to mouse over, you know, your little nameplate and it's got your AP listed there and whatever, I think you should be able to pin shit to that. Pin various titles. So, you know, let me put Champion Brawler and I'm Rich, you know, and Legendary Conqueror of Ceres, or Embodiment of Sin, as I would rather do, which is down here somewhere. You know, let me pin all of them, because they're all accomplishments I'm proud of in different ways, right? And they all have different colours. So, but I can only sort of show one or whatever. You know, like, I believe in the player card thing, and as I say, I stand by what I said at the start of the year, shit like that. The other thing I propose with the player card is, you know, when you look at a player, when I look at a random person out here, this guy, what does it show me? It shows me either his level or then his mastery score. The mastery system is an abomination. Okay, I don't care about people's mastery score. What I would like, though, is the player to be able to choose. Is your mastery score what you're most proud of? You know, are you sort of a casual / mid-core player? That's what I would say that sort of bracket is. People who care about mastery points are probably around there. Is your just level the thing you're most proud of? That's like a beginner player. That speaks of nothing of hardcore or casual. That's just you beginning out really with the game. You know, let people say that. Or alternatively, gives them some other metrics they might like to show. Maybe I want to display my world versus world rank even when I'm out here in PvE. Maybe I want to display my PvP rank. Maybe I want to display my skin score. And I am a believer in skin score, or call it fashion score if you like. Fashion score probably plays better with the masses because people love that phrase, fashion wars too and stuff. And what that is it's just a tally of all the unlocks you have. The dye unlocks you have, the weapon unlocks you have, the outfit unlocks you have, the mount unlocks you have, the weapon skins, the whole lot. It's just it just goes into a number. And the number will come out in what? The 4,000 to 10,000 range, which is totally in line with what we see. Or let me show my achievement points. That's the other thing I'd like to see. So I said all of that at the start of the year. If they did a fashion score thing that I could show, I would be way more... I would have that renewed enthusiasm, not just for these festivals, but for fucking everything. There's a really weird thing going on with Guild Wars at the moment, which is that, like, there's just too... Like, I started feeling this years ago. I started feeling this maybe 10 years ago. After I had more than enough legendary weapons, right? I think the classic most people run into, right, is you craft your first legendary, and now you don't give a shit about any other... Like, my first legendary was Incinerator, a dagger. After that, you don't give a shit about any other daggers, right? For a long, long time. Eventually, maybe that'll relapse, and you'll start using other ones, because even the legendary's boring or whatever. But that's the first moment you have where you realize the space is too crowded. Now, fashion templates have been announced for Visions of Eternity, but I don't think you can pin them to regions or assign any kind of logic to automatic swapping. So if they add that, then again, that also enthuses me for skins. But so there's not enough, really. A skin score means, okay, I'd like to get them all. The thing is, right, like the new skins that just came in for this festival, how can I find them? I don't honestly know at the bazaar. One of my friends that I did, you know, HTCM with and stuff, was doing the gambling on these vendors and got shitloads of really lucky rewards. And I've sort of been leery about going anywhere near the NPCs since. One of the achievements I have to do is to... one of the annuals I have to do is to go over there. But I've already finished the meta, so... It doesn't really matter, I don't think. But I do know where the vendors are down here in the other part of the festival. So hold on, let's have a quick look here. So, like, they added... I was talking to Kerry about this. Oh, fuck. That's one... This is one map where fast load can screw you because you don't realize you're falling. I assume the Mystic Forge is a little bit like that. So, this year... Where's Weekly? Where's the Weekly guy? You've got the Sandswept chest, right? I didn't have any of these skins. They're all locked, so they weren't here last year. And I always get the Focus first. Oh, no, I haven't bought any of them yet. But, okay, so I don't care what you think about the aesthetic, right? Maybe you like it, maybe you don't like it. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that the theme is already in the game. We already have so many sandy weapons. There's already... Oh, God, but I'm not going to remember the exact names of them. I wonder if I just type sand, we'll get at least some. Okay, we got the sand... Oh, well, that's this. You got the shifting sand stuff from POF, right? Which I think actually looks better. So when I saw that was the first thing that sprung to my mind. Well, we already have sandy stuff. I know it looks different, right? But the theme is kind of... I don't know. Maybe some people won't be convinced by that argument. They say more is always better. But I can only equip so many things, you know? And this is kind of a rehash of a rant I did on another recent stream. You know, and what did I say? I said I was humble bragging. And I said, look, I've got fucking 343 foci. There's so many folk. There needs to be another outlet for me as a hardcore player. I really hate that phrase. It makes me cringe out of my skin. But, you know, I've played the game consistently for over a decade. What else can I be, I guess, right? But as someone who plays a lot, I need, like, another release for why I want to get these skins. And I guess maybe the argument is, well, that there's not enough players like me that it matters, so shut up about it. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, Festival of the Four Winds is back. I don't have any AP to get anymore. I'm wondering. And you know what? I felt for the first time this year, I remember talking to someone from the studio once who, in no uncertain terms, made it clear to me that festivals were very good for retention, that lots of people play the game. Festivals are very, very, very good. People love festivals. It really captures a lot of players. Because I remember at the time of that conversation thinking, I'm not really that into festivals. You know, they're exciting the first time they come out and it's new content. But once I've seen it all, you know, just a little update or something doesn't really enamor me, right? I remember that's what I thought at the time. However, in recent years, because of getting these dailies for this AP, in recent years, I've really fell in love with them. And I do feel a bit sad. Well, no, I feel a bit empty. That's pretty cringy as well, isn't it? But when, you know, when a festival comes in for 3 weeks, right, and you get a routine, and you get a little buzz from it, you get a little bit of endorphin from it, or whatever. It's a bit of dopamine release. You think, okay, cool, I've made a little bit of progress. You get used to that fun, happy little routine of doing, you know, your little Super Adventure Box run in the morning or whatever. And then suddenly Super Adventure Box is gone. And that's just like a big empty space. It's like, oh. You know, like I sort of get it now. I like it. I like the festivals coming in. It's like, okay, cool. There's something regular for me to do. But that was all about getting the dailies for the AP caps for me. Now they're done, and I'm looking at the festival with 4 wins, and I want that. I want to be like, okay, here's a little fun thing to do in the morning in Guild Wars. And now that's gone for me. Skins could save me, but they don't quite. So, I mean, the reality is, you know, I don't know how much of this festival I'll do in the end. Instead, you guys can join me in the evenings on my brand new series, Taking Up Gachas. First choice, you get to vote on the gacha I'll play, and I'll grind my dailies forever in a gacha, and I'll give a bigger company that already has a lot of money another customer. I'm joking about all that. I'm joking about I'm not going to get into gachas. Maybe one day. We were talking about that in Discord the other day. Right, sorry, back to comments. Sorry. Yes, hello from Wales to Find and Seek, if you're still around, if you haven't fallen asleep. John Seller says someone called it in Discord saying this would be a 1 or 2 a.m. stream, and they were right. And that's a very difficult thing to call as well, by the way, because I don't regularly do this. And also, John, what do I say to you, man? I need to buy you a drink IRL one day. This is crazy. He sent 10 gift memberships. Thank you, John. Thank you, man. And to anyone who got one of those gift memberships, enjoy. Please consider, you know, continuing it when it runs out, maybe. Or becoming a member. Hello, Late Night Spuds, says BR Spees. I'm interested in the names who are here, who would have been here at the other hour as well. Because then I'll be convinced you're all vampires and you don't sleep. You guess the counter logic is a script wouldn't necessarily steal valuable stuff, but just steal anything shiny. Yeah, okay, so for the Antiquary, to talk a bit about last week's stuff. So they did the stream. Now, last week I went on a bit of a rant about the quality. This week, I'm not going to do that again. It was slightly better. They didn't start with a black screen like I just did. Their mics were okay from the start, I think. They streamed at 1080 instead of 720, which was massively helpful. The energy of the show did not change at all. Like, I linked someone earlier today, you know, one of the old points of interest stream that they used to do with Kate Welch when she was on it. And, you know, that's what I was, like, talking about last week. We used to get pretty good streams. You know, maybe you didn't totally agree with the vibe. I had someone message me saying, you know, I like the vibe. They're just nerdy gamers like us. And it's like, you know, there's a place for that. But I feel like the place for that is in the evening. Like, we're on the center stage right now. Do you know what I mean? This is it. This is expansion press. This is, you'll all be firing on all cylinders here. If a dev has their own quiet stream or YouTube series where they talk about the content, or they're just playing for fun in the evening, you know, sometimes you'll see a dev online, like right now, and you know, if they chose to record or play or whatever. Then that's cool. You can get that vibe, but I really don't think it's fit for purpose. So, you know, I still can't agree with the energy or the presentation or anything like that. But, you know, so the specs themselves. Okay, Antiquary is a thematic mess. The gameplay, I think, also, and I really want to sit here and say to you all, okay, but they did a really good job with the gameplay. I want to say that. I want to be the hype man. I want to. I'm not sure I believe that. What I would say is that work has gone in to it, and that they're trying something interesting. But I think fundamentally, It's not going to be in it. And I like the basic idea. Let's take improvisation as line. Let's go crazy with stolen items. I like that idea. Did they accomplish that? Well, let's see. And I like some of the work that went into like the UI and stuff. You know, like when I started watching that stream, Kerry said, "Wow, look, they've jumbled the initiative up. It looks terrible." And I was thinking, yeah, why don't they just move the F skills up and have the pips underneath the F skills so it can still be in a line? But whatever, that's nitpicking, I guess. But she noticed it looks like there's space for another button there. Like they've left the whole space for an F3. And I said, yeah, that's weird, isn't it? I can't believe they wouldn't just spread out. And she said, well, maybe there will be an F3. And I said to her, no. I said, no, there's not. This was early in the stream. I said, no, there won't be an F3 on this class because they never do that. The only time an entirely new button pops up without like a pre-existing slot being there for it, the only time that happens is with special action keys. If there's going to be a button there, it will be like a blank empty button and it will fill in at some point. They don't do it either because the house style isn't to do that, or they can't do that. I said to her, no, they don't do that. And I wasn't expecting any like minor UI innovations or anything like that. But lo and behold, as the stream went along, she was right. I was completely wrong. There is that first rung of traits does actually manifest a whole new button right there, the F3. The F3 does exist. And I like the way that those traits played around. So like, again, like I feel like there's some quality there. I like seeing things like that. I guess I'll just get to my concern, right, with the gameplay, and that is, first of all, it's supposed to all be about stolen items. There's only 8 of them. I don't believe that that's good enough. I don't believe that sells what they're trying to do. Now, I understand the desire to keep the pool minimal so that players can learn the pool and so that they can, like, guesstimate the RNG, manipulate the RNG for your other traits so it's actually playable. I understand having a smaller pool is thing, but I don't know whether that's really the fantasy. Also, I look at the expertise people can have while playing card games and stuff and memorizing and knowing, you know, odds and guessing what might be happening across whole decks, right? You know, this is all about lots of big stolen items. You've given us 8. It feels too small to me for that. But more to the point, my big thing with it is the RNG baked into the spec. Now, again, I applaud that they're doing something different. I applaud that. And I'll tell you what, guys, get in my face about this next year if I'm wrong. Not next year, over the next 5 years. If I'm wrong, come to me. You know, if you're watching these streams off in the future, let's indulge in what it was like to watch the Visions of Eternity stuff. Hi to those of you around in the future. Drop me your comments, let me know. But here's my prediction for that spec, RNG based as it is. Ready? And they revealed, by the way, that a bunch of, like, the backfires aren't real backfires. I should probably go tag that boss. This would be so cheesy if I can get to Pyroxis here. Ready? Oh, we're going to tag a boss blitz. I didn't mean to leech, guys. But now that I've noticed, it's nearly over. I mean, I'd be a fool not to do, right? My prediction for the spec is this. It's got RNG baked into it. Players are going to find they don't like it. Players are going to bitch about it. And the devs will ignore it and say, well, that's a part of the design. And then players are going to bitch a bit more the next month. And then players are going to bitch a bit more the next month. And then the balance team's going to say, oh, okay, all right, we'll tweak it. We'll lessen the RNG a bit. And then, in one tray, in one interaction here, in something there, we'll soften this, we'll soften that. And then a few months later, players will bitch about another element. And then they'll bitch about another thing. And over and over and over again, it will tend down to nothingness. What currently makes it interesting will be gone. That is my prediction for the spec. They will bake it all away. Every time Guild Wars has ever had some kind of RNG variance to any skill, any element of its design or its feature set, it has been ripped out. It has been muted. It has been de-accented. That's like the status quo for this game. We've had 15 years of that balance philosophy. We don't have big effects on long cooldowns. We don't have high-risk, high-reward things. You know, like a good example of how they shave and mute things down and always give you a benefit. You don't really have to lean too hard into things. You can talk about how most, boon-based builds don't even need concentration, shit like that. But like on Guardian, they have that trait. I can't remember the name of the trait. I'm terribly sorry. But they have a trait. It used to be, while you have Aegis, get a fat damage modifier. And it was a huge modifier because the devs knew sustaining Aegis was difficult. So it was a really fun and interesting, very accented trait. Nowadays, it's like a tiny modifier, But always with like another... Shall we actually go have a look at it? Let's see. I think it's in virtues. I think it's the lowest level on virtues. But it's like, there's always a component where you always get a reward. That's their MO now. And I can't look at 15 years of balance design like that, where they keep lowering... And to my chagrin, here you go, unscathed contender. It's now strike damage is increased while you have Aegis, so it's now just 7%. But always strike damage is increased while you're above 90% health, which is a much easier thing to sustain, right? So it's more usable, but what was very you know, specific about it is kind of gone, and that's how I view the Antiquary. I don't think it will last as it is. I really don't. I think people are going to raid on it just to take one snapshot of one tiny area of the game, and you know, you're gambling on that. Whatever stolen item drops that big DPS field or whatever, you're not getting it regularly enough. Someone will bitch, oh, I want to be able to get this guaranteed or whatever, and the RNG will go away. And my argument is, once the RNG's gone away, what is that spec? It's... So I'm not convinced by the Antiquary. That's my thoughts on the Antiquary. Oh, as another note, I did do a little post on Blue Sky. I was laughing my arse off. I was laughing in a way you may have never heard me laugh in a video, to be honest. So they have a trait there. Wait, what's the F1 called? They said it was going to be called in the press release. In the blog post, they said it was Pilfer, right? But it's not Pilfer. I think it's either the trait or the skill itself is called Scrit Snatch. And I heard them say that. And I thought, oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I don't really think of snatch as vagina, really. I mean, I guess some people say that in the UK. It is a thing. Like, I recognize that as a term that people use. But it's not where my head goes immediately. But holy fuck, once it came out that you could interpret that way, that we're talking about Scrit Snatch. And later it's like, oh, you can get a battle high when you use the Scrit Snatch. Oh my god, watching chat laugh about that. Someone, I don't know, look, if you're out there, if you hear this... Someone in chat left a comment. I'm surprised your lawyers let you get away with naming it that way. That guy who mentioned the lawyers talking about the fucking Scrit Snatch. Oh my god, it was so funny. And the guys doing the presentation they're so dry. They're stony faced. Come on, play around a little bit here. Play around with me. Play around with the Scrit Snatch. Everyone's seeing it, and I don't. By the way, talking about that, I don't. Are they actually looking at the stream on that? Those shows may as well be pre-recorded. They never fucking interact with anyone. You see them in their face cams looking to the side sometimes, and you know, it gives you that sense that maybe they're looking at chat. But are they? Are they looking at chat? There's never any back and forth. Oh my lord! But yeah, that was pretty funny. Juvenile and immature and whatever, you know. Okay, so yeah, that was the Antiquary. Paragon's a weird one. Okay, I love Paragon in the first game. I know that nowadays it's just spamming heroic refrain and it's kind of boring, and if you use Toolbox it's more fun, by the way. Any Paragons out there playing Guild Wars 1 in 2025, get Toolbox. It will help you see with the refrains on your heroes and stuff. I get it, but look, in terms of like the idea and everything, I always liked it. I only really had 3 characters in Guild Wars 1. I made one for each of the big campaigns. I had a Mesmer, then I had an Assassin, and then I had a Paragon. They all 3 of those have special places in my heart. Oh, quick sidebar. Last week they announced the Ritualist from Guild Wars 1, light armor. They announced the Paragon from Guild Wars 1, heavy armor. Ooh, they're going to announce the medium armor from Guild Wars 1, maybe? The Assassin, right? I didn't do any commentary on that. That completely passed me by. I didn't even consider it. So anyway, there were so many people in that Antiquary discussion, like the follow-up Antiquary discussion, angry, felt really mad that they had done 2 Guild Wars 1 professions, and it seemed so ready for the Assassin, and they didn't do it. And, you know, that's just a failing of mine. I should have talked about that last week. It didn't even cross my mind. The Dervish crossed my mind. I talked about the Dervish and, you know, the gods and stuff. I didn't talk about the Assassin. It's crazy. But, of course, people's expectations were going to be for that. I think partly why I didn't think of the Assassin is because I do feel it's been fulfilled already. Shiro Legend on Revenant really plays into the Assassin. Willbender, in its lore in particular, really plays into the assassin. I had another example. And within the thief ecosystem, you know, a lot of people will argue Deadeye does. I know a lot of people don't distinguish Deadeye from the rifle. But, you know, there's some fucking nasty, malicious backstabs out there, and it's not tied to rifle anymore. I know thematically it kind of is and stuff. Like, they had the Antiquary using rifle, and I thought, oh, that's a bit weird. That's another thing, by the way. Why didn't they... You know, I assume... Well, okay. Look, the person making the trailers, I don't know who's making the trailers. I think I know who's making the trailers. They were smart enough to put the Sunspear outfit on and whatever. Why in this fucking thing were we watching the Paragon wielding a longbow the entire time? I get it. There's one trait that benefits from spamming 4 and 5s, and you get ammunition on the 4. Fuck that. Put the longbow on when you get to that trait. Demonstrate it at that point. But otherwise, come on. People want to see you in a spear. They want to see the fantasy. A little bit of prep, yeah? Just a little bit. Oh. So, I've done too many topics now. I forget what I was talking about. Yeah, they didn't do the assassin. Disappointment for some, I guess. But, and look, I know I just said, oh, but the fantasy is satisfied. But this is really good running this big-ass circle, isn't it? It gives the illusion I'm doing something meaningful when I'm not. Someone's going to drop a comment saying, I'm getting dizzy. Sorry, just drinking coffee. I know it's not a very satisfying argument to hear me say, oh, the assassin is satisfied on other classes. I mean, I'd even say Executioner, one of the core lines, kind of gets you there. But, I mean, I believe in core line enhancements for elite spec, so that's fine. So, look, maybe there's space for the assassin. Maybe next time. I don't know. Yeah, so Paragon. Paragon's a weird one. I love Paragon. It was one of my mains. And I really wanted to feel like it was a Paragon. I wanted to see... So, in GW1... I'll get you guys a screenshot of this. I think it's important we screenshot this so that the people who didn't play the first game can get a little sense of what I'm talking about. Because I assume there's some of you out there. High resolution skill icons. It's one of the things I put on the wiki more than anything else, you know, the Guild Wars 1 wiki. And what I'm about to discuss with you all is a topic that is relevant. So let's add a file here. Okay, there we go. What did I just say? A little bit of prep. All right, here you go. And I hadn't done the prep on this. To be fair, I couldn't predict I was going to talk about this. So these are the Guild Wars 1 Paragon skills. And can you see all the ones that have like the similar trim? The familiar aesthetic. Those are like the chants and the anthems, right? And we were all guessing that chants and anthems were going to come back for the Guild Wars 2 Paragon. I wanted to see stuff that looked like this. It's one thing to name a trait, like a Guild Wars 1-y thing, and they did that, and they especially did that with the Ritualist. But there's a certain vibe I was expecting. I know this seems like such a superficial little thing, you know, they're just the skill icons. But the second I started seeing that Paragon footage, and I saw that none of the icons remotely resembled the chants and anthems from before and stuff, I just thought something doesn't feel like it's not satisfying it. And that's the thing. It's not really the devs' fault. I don't actually fault them. I actually quite like the Paragon and the Ritualist sections. It's not really their fault, because the thing is, it's not a full class, guys. It's not a full class. You had a full class in a different style of RPG before, and they really got to sell you something on a certain scale. It's just an elite spec. So you can't get what you're looking for, really. But, I mean, simple things like the icons, I was disappointed in that. Paragon looks to me like it could be really good. The gameplay might just boil down to spamming bursts. Like Mike said, this is just like you're going to spam bursts. He wasn't impressed by it at all. For me, I'm a bit more optimistic about it. I think it looks okay. Now, obviously, they have the big reveal of the elite is nobody can go below 0 HP. So last week we had, 2 weeks ago we had the Troubadour stuff. With, you know, the mass scale distort share. Wow, is this a bad thing? Everyone called it overpowered. This week we had this on the Paragon. There's a little something on the Ritualist as well. And so actually, I want to make an argument that this is really exciting. I like the look of it. And you guys will say, well, it's overpowered. Hold on. Let me just... Let's look as objectively as we can at Guild Wars right now. As it happens... Okay, I'm only talking about PvE here, all right? For World versus World and PvP, these things may, especially World versus World, these things may be overpowered and we may see nerfs in those game types. Talking about PvE, right? When you look at the places that you can apply your current builds and the current meta and the current stuff, there are very few that are actually hardcore and difficult. All, like, Wing 1 is totally power crept and invalidated, and Arenanet show no sign of looking to fix that up ever, which is a disappointment on its own level. Let's not get sidetracked with that. But the reality is, that's all power crept to nothing. Wing 2, power crept to nothing. 3, 4, 5. 5 maybe has a little something. 6 is not interesting. You know, like, so you can say these things are really overpowered. Okay, so what? So we're going to use it to apply... We're going to apply it to things that are too easy. Where it really becomes a bit grim is... I look at, like, that Paragon Elite, and the thing that came to my mind... I don't know if you guys saw my video about Embodiment of Sin. Doing Release Embodiment of Sin. There's a moment right in the last 20 seconds of that fight that is fucking insane. It is awesome. You've got to watch my video on it. If you haven't seen it, go to you, pause this if you're watching the VOD. Go WoodenPotatoes, Embodiment of Sin. There is the craziest, coolest, most high-pressure, insane shit right at the end of that. The group I progged Embodiment of Sin with, we wiped and wiped and wiped on this last bit. The damage pressure is insane. And when I saw this Paragon reveal, and I should have probably thought it with the Troubadour thing, I thought, oh, fuck, well, that's ruined. People will just use that. You know, you'll just be immune to death there now, right? Even HTCM, I haven't done it for a while, but, you know, I've heard his power crept to shit now since where it was. So what are we really invalidating? Very little, really. So that's one argument I want to make. The other argument I want to make is when it was just the Troubadour, there was, or a Heartthorn's launch, right, where you had that well that made everyone immune to death effectively for ages, evade spam and then distort spam on 5 targets. When you look at these situations, it's 1 out of everyone that gets it. That's a problem, right? Because, oh, we're just going to stack Troubadours. However, the second argument I want to make is we might be moving into a slightly different model for the game. And that model is a model where we say, okay, these are tools we expect the player to have, and they are available on multiple specs. And now that the Paragon has it too, and I seem to remember something quite strong support-y on the rich list, one of the weapon skills. We're kind of in a different model of balance, aren't we? It's not so bad. If they keep pushing it, if new encounter design accounts for these tools, and they're available on several of the classes, I actually view that as okay. And I can imagine a model of Guild Wars 2 where that works. And you might say, but what about all the existing content that's now going to be power crept? Well, I'll go back to argument 1. It's already fucked, mate. It's already ruined. So, you know, and again, this is an example of them shaking the tree a bit and being a bit experimental. And I've said over and over and over again, that's what I want them to do. That's what I want. So it would far be it from me to now criticize when it looks like there's something a bit mental coming in, you know? You know, I've judged the Antiquary where they've done things a little bit different because I'm not convinced that but the same argument can go there, right? We could be moving to a new model where they're happier for more accented, more RNG-heavy experiences within the game. You know, it depends what they want to do, how long-term they're going to support the game, whether the same balance minds are there, whether they have even, like, a coder that they subscribe to or anything like that. I don't know how much faith I have in the balance team. I remember around the launch of EOD, there were all these talks. Hey, do you guys have budgets for, like, how much healing or damage thing, how much support things you'll be able to do? And they're just topics that the balance team doesn't seem to have ever thought about or talked about, or at least shared with the community in any, like, particularly convincing way. So I don't know how much confidence I have in them, but I'll take what I get. I think so. I'm actually quite excited about that Paragon thing. It looks like a cool tool. What have I been saying? I've been saying that I want niches to apply interesting mechanics, and in a way they're kind of creating like a new idea of something you might want in your party. And if they build around it, there always has to be a yin-yang with the content team and the balance team. And I'm not sure any MMO has ever really nailed it or understood that, as far as I can see. You know, a lot of MMOs just homogenize the shit out of everything that they can so that you don't need that tight connection. Look at FF14 as an example. Sorry, I'm probably getting a bit heady about all of this. All right, I think the Paragon looks all right. The UI is maybe a bit iffy. I think the wings should be way bigger. I'm not very impressed with the visuals that they went with. in terms of recapturing the old experience, at least. I don't think they should have done the whole fucking section with a longbow and a guy in like a monk outfit or whatever it was. And same goes for this last one, the Ritualist. What was my take on Ritualist? Ritualist, look, this is that classic thing, right, where someone will rant and rave and go on and on and on about things that were imperfect, and something that's really good doesn't get a lot of conversation. I want to implore to you that that's not a bad thing. I don't have so much to say about the Ritualist, because the Ritualist look fantastic to me. I don't like... So there was a lot of discussion about the new visuals. Like, they were chained up before. You know, they were your thralls, and now they're not. Look, I totally understand that Guild Wars has no teeth. It's lost its edge. The setting is boring as fuck. The characters are boring as fuck. In terms of, there's no grit to anything. There's no controversy to anything. Everything's as safe and as corporate as possible. It's Dragon Age Veilguard, the discussion, effectively, right? And I understand why big corporations with lots of people whose jobs rely on it, they don't want the controversy. You're on the internet, you're having feedback screamed at you all the time. You're having minority communities, and I mean that in the strictest sense, like numbers-wise, explaining they don't like this or that. This gives me a headache. You know, even though it's one guy in a crowd of 10,000, now we have to listen to the one guy. I get it. I get it why it has no teeth. But the fact is it has no teeth, right? So I understand this argument, oh, this sucks. They used to be chained up and now they're your friends. But I don't really even, and I get it, but I don't really know that that's what they're doing, guys. I think they just took the models of the spirits that were there already in EOD. Maybe your argument applies to EOD, right? Went back in EOD, why didn't they go with the chained up aesthetic? I don't know. I don't really care about that too much. My superficial argument about the Ritualist aesthetic is the colors. Don't really like the colors. I also don't really like that it's a shroud. That wasn't revealed in the blog post, was it? But it's a shroud. And, look, here's my thoughts on shrouds. I like Death Shroud. Cool idea. It was the OG, whatever. I like Reaper Shroud. I like Harbinger Shroud. Any shroud on a Necro, in theory, should be okay. I like the, like, Radiant Shroud because it's, like, you know, it's this reversal of the idea. I even like Shadow Shroud because, that, you know, that's a strong, clear archetype in fantasy you might find outside of the IP. But Ritualist Shroud? Oh, no, I think they had announced it. I don't know, man. When I was looking at it on the stream, it was like, okay, so I'm just caked in black. I mean, if they were able to do away with the Shroud when it came to Scourge, maybe they felt it would be too similar to Scourge. But, you know, that's my only nitpick, really. You know, we can go with the color thing. Well, the comment I made, it doesn't feel like a full class, so it doesn't quite satisfy, like that I just mentioned with Paragon. That conversation applies here, but we have to remember it's only an elite spec. Aside from that, I mean, it looks brilliant, doesn't it? Yeah, the extra F skills, they were news, and I thought that was a nice extra touch. The way they can all attack was good. The traits very significantly changed it. I mean, they're amazing. When they came to the end of that stream and you had like the coup de grace, right? You had the fucking, the actual spirit spamming vibe with Signet of Spirits pulsing. They were teleporting to your location all the time. They were persisting outside of the Shroud. That, like, there was a really stupid comment I saw in chat. They mentioned on the topic of the Shroud, they said, okay, we have this idea where in the first game you would kill the spirits to counter pressure. But we don't really want to do that here. They didn't justify the why they didn't want to do it, but they said, okay, so what we'll do is we'll instead say you pressure the Necro out of his Shroud, and that kills the spirits. You pressure him out of his Shroud. I liked that. I thought that sounded really good. There was this really, in my opinion, foolish comment of someone said, wow, designing a spec that can be countered doesn't sound like a very fun way to make a game. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even really know how to begin to tackle that kind of logic. I think it was a fun idea, tying them to the Shroud, once they'd explained it in those terms. But then by the end of the stream, they revealed that one of the major play styles is just having them always, even without the Shroud. So, I don't know. But I think it looked great. I think the weapon skills looked really strong. They had so many references everywhere. Yeah, if I was doing that show, right, if that was me, they were like,
Oh, here's our next thing. You'll recognize soul twisting from Guild Wars 1.
That's it. That's what. If I was doing that show, I'd have a fucking screenshot of soul twisting. I don't know. My show would be too long, I guess, because I would talk too much, and I don't know the meaning of brevity. But you know. So anyway, I think the Ritualist looked good. There you go. That's my take over the course of 3 leeched boss blitzes. That's my take. Was it 3? That's my take on last week's Elite Specs. And how long did that take me to run about? 40 minutes. With the odd sidebar. I had a comment on last week's video of a guy saying, but something to the effect of, these tangents are killing me. And but then I also get a lot of people saying, oh, I love the tangents. So I don't know who to believe, guys. I don't know who to believe. I don't know what to do. All right, let me scroll down in chat here. Oh, God, did my chat break? Ooh, it might have broken. It might have broken. Yeah, who have we even got here? Sorry, guys, I've not been looking at chat. Okay, there's no excuse for that because I'm not even in the video section right now. Without new weapons, the Shroud is welcome. Yeah, I thought they found a great way of mixing the weapons with the Shroud too. I thought that they did quite well. Sorry, within the spec too, because there was a question of how would they balance stuff. Some things were lost, like the lightning was lost, but supportiveness, the idea that you can play a supportive Ritualist. Right now, I think it's the top of my list. It's taken the top. The problem is, so I've had some people saying, WP, on your Let's Play, are you going to stream on the Ritualist then in your Let's Play? I don't think I am going to do that. I don't really like, and it's for a really silly reason. It's a really petty reason. The reason that I'm not going to do Necro is if I'm doing a blind story playthrough, which is what that stream will be. If you play a Necro, when you go into Shroud, it cuts like game audio and voices and stuff, and that's cool. I like that feature, but just from the perspective of a Let's Player, and especially playing it blind, and I don't know what's coming up. I want to experience the audio properly. I've had some dodgy streams in the past where like really cool moments, like Palawa Joko is about to die or some shit. He's talking to me in the Citadel of Gandara or whatever. Or you know, any kind of big high impact moment in season 4, and I'll go into Shroud because I'm fighting and suddenly I can't hear them anymore. So I probably won't play Ritualist on those grounds alone. Nothing to do with criticism with the game or the Ritualist itself. But it would be cool to be Gux. I don't know. Maybe we'll do like what didn't we do? We did a replay, didn't we, at one point of Janthir Wilds? Maybe when we do a replay of Visions of Eternity. Oh God, my coffee's getting cold. I should mount a roller beetle. Shall we do the race? I'll give you guys a little bit more festival content before we get into this week's stuff. We're nearly there, guys. WV, you need to play the story blind as an Antiquary for the lulz. Yeah, you got to get in on that. Get in on that squid snatch. Oh man, if they rename that now, it's like it's even worse. You know, snatch is a word, guys. All right, we can use that to mean steal. All right. I think not acknowledging it or talking about it at this point is the way forwards with that. All right, we can privately all snigger, but that's about it. Sorry, let me answer some questions here. WP, you need to play the story... sorry, I already read that one. WP, do you think we might get to witness the Dominion of Winds opening in future expects? I think it's a perfect setting for... Hello, Jebro, Squid Snatch. Dude, I was getting pictures off of my old phones the other day, and I found a bunch of being on Brighton Beach. Anyway, do you think we could open to see the Dominion of Winds? Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea for a mini X-Pack. That's why I mentioned in that lore for the Gale shot, I was a little concerned that they gave that story. Oh, the race is already going. Shit. What? Oh my God. I thought I was waiting. No, it says the race is starting soon. Oh, we have like 2 races happening at once. That's very strange. It's really good. I hope they don't just do it quietly behind the scenes. I don't think they would do that. I think we'll see it in the future. Slime time, says Kerry. Hello, Kerry. Yeah, I saw that. That's a heading we're about to read, isn't it? If tangents keep killing people who like of one group, all that's left will be the people who like tangents. I mean, that's true. And look, I just criticised Arenanet for being toothless, trying to appeal to too many voices at once. So maybe I should... I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to go. Maybe I should listen to my own advice there. Another thing that happened was really interesting in the week, by the way. A bit of a controversial conversation here, really. You guys can go check it out in Discord if you like. So we have a Guild Wars 3 channel. There we go. By the way, Warclaw made this race so easy. We have a Guild Wars 3 channel. We created it because a lot of conversation about... Obviously, Guild Wars 3 is not confirmed or anything like that. We created it because there was always a lot of conversation about Guild Wars 3. It was handy to have a dedicated place for it. And last year, when NCSoft said there was a Guild Wars 3, and then Arenanet like had to backpedal or whatever, I thought, you know what, we've had enough random bits of news now. It might be nice. And so what I do in that channel sometimes is I'll like pin useful resources. So speaking of useful resources, now I think this guy's a YouTuber. I don't know who he is as a YouTuber. I've never seen it. I only saw his Reddit posts. But there's a guy out there, Guy X, who has been crawling the job posts, the listings of jobs at Arenanet for the past 4 years. And what he does... But Arenanet put job posting up, by the way, and then they take it off. But obviously it gets snapshotted on like archive. What is it? Archive.com? Archive.org or whatever? It gets snapshotted. So this guy gets these snapshots from of all the job posts. Arenanet cannot slip anything by, right? And what he does is he does this keyword search on all these job offerings. Whenever they're related to the unannounced project, he does a keyword search for like the word MMO or the word RPG or them both together, MMORPG, or multiplayer or consoles, stuff like that, right? And he has a spreadsheet of every single instance of Arenanet talking about their upcoming game, and you can see the various keywords and how regularly they use those keywords to describe the game. So you can look at this spreadsheet he's got, and you can see quite clearly they very often call it an MMO. They very often call it just on its own an RPG. Very rarely do they call it an MMORPG, right? And so you can... There's not really much you can conclude from that, right? But as an example, and you can see how often console come up. So, you know, is this thing coming to Xbox and PlayStation? Blah, 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 blah. You can do all this scrutinizing. Scrutinizing that, you know, they might rather people not be doing, to be perfectly candid. But there it is. Anyway, so what he's also done is he's linked on Archive every time. You know, he's got evidence. He's got receipts of where this was or where that was. And so I clicked a few. We were talking about it in the Guild Wars 3 channel. And here's some news to me, okay? I don't really know what to make of it. My understanding was Guild Wars doesn't offer a subscription fee, okay? And my understanding for years is that it's kind of an entry-level company for a lot of people trying to get into the games industry. Now, that's probably quite a rude thing to say, and that might not be an accurate thing to say. As someone like me, who's completely distant from it all... You know, I'm not there. What the fuck do I know, right? But that's like the impression I think the majority of the community has had. That you know, devs will come there. You know, people talk about Glassdoor all the time, and you have to take things with a grain of salt or whatever. But, you know, people will say, oh, I joined this. I got a bit of experience. I moved on. You know, they're not people that care about the IP long term or whatever. They're just, it's like a stepping stone company because they don't pay that well, because they can't pay that well, because they're not World of Warcraft, because they're not charging a subscription fee. They have to make do, you know. The team's not as big as it could be. I mean, despite all of that, we have very, very contemporary, modern comments of the game director referring to the studio as scrappy, right? Like, you don't call the studio scrappy, you don't call the team scrappy if you have a fuck ton of resources, all right? And so much of my commentary about the game has been, look, we have to look at what we're dealing with here. You know, don't expect the world from them. That's and you know, I've tried to come at that from a place of understanding over the recent years. But looking at those posts for this unannounced project, I clicked maybe 10 jobs, and all of the first ones that I clicked were 6-figure incomes. it was like 150k to 200k for like a sandbox designer. I was like, what the fuck? Like it was like 100k, like insanely high price. You know, I was bitching about, oh, they're getting a salary. They need to do a good show with a live stream the other day. Jesus Christ, the money that they're offering. Now, Kerry said, look, they probably lowball you once the interviews start and stuff. They probably lowball you. But oh my god, I eventually found like 2 posts that weren't 6-figure sums. They were like 90k or like 87k minimum range. Minimum range. So I don't know. I don't really have a point here. I'm just saying my perspective that they're a scrappy, you know, they don't have the funds, blah, 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 might have been complete nonsense. I don't know. So we were talking about that a bit in the Guild Wars 3 channel. Feel free to check it out if you like. Some people made the argument that, like, that area in the Pacific Northwest is very expensive to live. So, but, you know, they had, like, the full slate of benefits on there. One of them said you could work remotely from, like, wherever you like. I mean, man, so look, I'm not. This isn't a criticism or a judgment. I'm just saying I don't know now. I don't know. It looks like whatever they're doing for the next game, they're paying well. They have money to pay well. Hopefully they're getting, and you know, they're looking. So it got a bit political or whatever. And, you know, I really don't want to turn this channel into a mouthpiece for these kinds of topics. Whenever I talk about something like this, there's always someone saying, oh, talk more, talk more. But I feel like that's a road to a dodgy place. But, you know, so they're paying well, but they're also asking for a lot, usually. They're asking for, you know, AAA experience, this, and this. They do have a clause at the end, like a DEI-type clause at the end, which is very, very carefully worded. So it is, as far as I understand, it is illegal in America to offer a job and ask for lower qualifications because of like a diversity thing. You can't say, oh, you don't have, the bar is lower if you're a woman. The bar is lower if you're a person of color. And so that's illegal. You can't do that. And you can see in the channel, they have a very specifically worded thing at the end that says, don't you have all these qualifications? Are you not good enough? Well, we think that if you're a woman or a person of color, you might not apply. We love diversity. We love this. We think it makes us better. Diversity is the best. We really, really want a diverse workforce. So if you don't hit all the qualifications, apply. So there's one paragraph talking about how they desperately want a diverse. They don't want just white men. So it's like it's clearly saying. So I talked about this a little bit in the channel. It's very clearly saying the bar is lower if you're not a white man. But it doesn't technically say that, so I don't think it's illegal or anything. So anyway, look, I don't want to get into the whole DEI thing. Jesus Christ, right? But all I'm saying is they are asking with the caveat of that, where they have a disclaimer that basically says you might get the job even if you don't hit all the qualifications, right? So with the caveat of that disclaimer there, they are paying well and they are asking for very, very well-experienced people. So, you know, it kind of gives me a lot of hope for what I want to leave this conversation with is it kind of gives me high hopes for the next game. It looks like they really are pushing a lot. A lot of people say that Guild Wars 2 feels like, you know, it's underfunded, the mini-expacts are underfunded, stuff like that. You know, maybe more than ever when you look at that spreadsheet, you've got your evidence that, you know, if you have misgivings about the current quality of mini-expacts in Guild Wars 2, if you have misgivings about that, that doesn't necessarily need to translate to their unannounced project, because it seems very likely a huge proportion of their energy and their budget and their workforce is going on to making this next thing as good as possible, right? So it's okay to be excited about the next thing. That would be the observation I want to leave you on. But anyway, so that was another thing that was going on during the week. All right, we've had more than enough sidebars now. We've had more than enough. I'm hoping Guild Wars 3 wouldn't be just a sequel, but instead a project to produce the next step of Tyria that brings the Guild Wars universe to the next decade. Yeah, well, not even just the next decade, but beyond, right? I think MMOs can go a long time. We're not in the place of, like, when they're making Factions or Nightfall, and they're only anticipating it for going a few years. You know, people can see. You look at old school RuneScape, look at WoW Classic. These games have appeal, and then they continue to have appeal for years and years and years and years and years. Do we know if it's even Guild Wars related? No, it's just an unannounced project. The channel will be called Guild Wars 3, but it's kind of a meme name. I might rename it to. No, I'm not going to rename it because everything we talk about in the context is in the context of a Tyrion IP. I think we're largely expecting that. You don't hold it against them trying to build their future. They've done way more than I ever thought they would with Guild Wars 2. Yeah, that's a fair enough point as well. That kind of goes opposite to what I just said, that these things can go short. Can operate on smaller timescales. For the love of God, don't do Guild Wars 2 references in Guild Wars 3. Guild Wars 1 reference in the latest X-Pack made me zone out completely. Yeah, a lot of people felt that way. The problem is, right, Janthir Wilds, actually, you don't need an encyclopedic knowledge of Guild Wars 1 for Janthir Wilds. Do you know how little dialogue and conversation there is in Prophecies? There's so little. I actually think the failing of Janthir Wilds is not presenting that history lesson well enough in-game, because you could do it very easily. It's easier for Janthir Wilds to sum up the Titan Crisis than it was for Guild Wars 2 to sum up the movement of the world, right? But they did it. You know, you go into a Ra story mode and you get that beautiful like concept art cutscene and stuff. Just tune in. What did I think of the last 3 specs? No, I'm not going to say it all again. I'm really sorry. You have to watch the VOD. I just talked for about 40 minutes about it. Oh, unless you mean the new ones, in which case we can do that now. Let's go back to the Labyrinthine Cliffs. Oh, I do feel like I probably, the last 10 minutes there was a bit too long of spinning in circles. Right. You can't wait to be a puddle. Alright, here we go. Right, so what I'm going to do is swap us over to the YouTube intro now, and I'm going to do it. Just before that, is there any other comments, any questions people are desperate to know before we move on? Oh, sorry, scrolling up. Tortonka says that's not paying well. What, a 6-figure salary isn't paying well? Yeah, Jebro says they have remote folks. Yeah, I assume they pay you less if you're remote. I think I read on one of them, it said something like, you know, the pay we offer you is kind of dependent on where you live, right? We account for cost of living, which is only natural, right? You know, like, you know, if you're living in London, there's a difference between London wage. You can get quite a nice wage in London, but the cost of living is so high. What are you actually taking home? Oh, there you go. Justin says 100k is nothing in Seattle for tech workers. If you make low 6 figures on the West Coast, you're poor. I mean, that just seems crazy. Look, who am I to talk about this? I mean, you teach me. Is that true? If you make low 6 figures, you're poor. Sorry, but there's something that immediately seems absolutely mental about what you just said. You're fucking poor. You earn 6 figures. That can't be right, can it? Me applying, yes, I have an intimate understanding of both sand and boxes. Yeah, I'm trying to scroll up here, guys.
I can't help but feel out of place.
Dude, that's how much programmers make. Yeah, they're well paid. I'm not saying they're well paid for tech workers, but I'm saying compared to the rest of the world.
I guess you're right.
WP, you've been a part of my life for years. Your efforts are appreciated. Thank you very much. Oh, and I'll continue to be. Hey, we had some gift members from Derek there as well. Thank you, Derek. That's really, really nice of you. Thank you, man. Rat versus slime. Oh, God. Oh, God. You guys have just made me very nervous about one of these new ones. What do you mean? What's this slime stuff? I think the meme of WP made a 45-minute analysing a 30-second trailer. Shows we love the tangents. Oh, that's not really fair, though, is it? I've never liked that, right? Okay. If you show someone the Mona Lisa, right? That's one frame. It's one frame, all right? And people can write, like, novels, not novels. People can write books about it. You can write books about the context behind the Mona Lisa, what it's depicting, people have been impacted by it, the emotions it imparts upon people, preservation efforts, where it's displayed, controversies, forgeries. You know, it doesn't mean, you know, if Arenanet throw up an image, a single frame of a Titan, and in the video I go to explain some context about what that is, and in doing so it takes me 5-10 minutes, and then we move on a bit. That's not crazy. That's not a tangent. That's not a rant. That's not rambling. That's not useful. It's just exploring the topic, isn't it? I've always hated that. I know people are just playing around, so it doesn't really matter. But man, you can share weapon spells to minions. I think that makes it a solid concept for a minion spec with a space. Yes, I like that too. That was another thing in Rit that I really liked. All right, I'm scrolling back down. So Guild Wars is WP's Mona Lisa. Yeah, this is it. You're looking at it. List right here, the Mona Lisa. $150K is middle of the road for a software dev job in Seattle. Oh, okay. So look, I see the argument here. It's not that these people earn little. It's that there are better opportunities out there immediately for them. If you have that skill set, if you have those qualifications, you can jump ship easily, and that's the point, isn't it? I understand there. Yeah, because what I was getting wrapped up in is that you know, and to me, any six-figure salary, even in a fairly high cost of living area, is pretty fucking good, you know? Especially considering you can take whatever you squirrel away and run to a cheaper area of the planet Earth and live like a king. Right? But that's not the point. The point is when we talk about, you know, rotating employees and all that kind of stuff.
Are you here to purchase something?
Oh, the Mona Lisa. Oh my god, guys. You're geniuses. Justice says, WP, do you prefer foxes, otters, rabbits, or toads? I don't know, but I'll give you one final tangent here. I saw a post on an aquarium subreddit the other day. This is crazy, what I'm about to tell you. This is crazy. And it was a gross black-looking worm thing that they pulled out of their aquarium. And they said, oh my god, tell me what it is, writhing around there. It's looking horrible. They put it on the desk. And they say, oh my god, what is this? Please tell me it's not a leech. And everyone in the comments is going, it's a leech. Sorry, it's a leech. You're going to have to get over it. There's a leech in your tank. You're just going to have to squish it or whatever. All right. And then one guy says, no, don't kill it. Don't kill the leech. They're really lovely, thoughtful pets. Come join us on our leechies. I was like, what? So I click, right? There's this subreddit. It's got about 3,000 people on it. And they have leeches as pets. And it's not ironic. It's not a joke. It's not like, you know, hee, we're so random in culture or whatever. It's a real thing. They're keeping leeches as pets. And they feed them. They're like, oh, they're really easy to take care of. They're really easy. They only need to feed once or twice a year. Yeah, you can buy blood from elsewhere, but it's really hard to source, and it might have, you know, additives in it and stuff that can kill the leech. So I just feed them myself. That's what they all say. I just feed them myself. You know, it's mostly painless. You just stick it on your arm, let it drink your blood for like half an hour or whatever until it's had enough, and then you put it back in the jar and you watch it. And there's people going on like, oh, they're really friendly. I have two. One of them I call lettuce and one of them I call cabbage. And they're really cozy and they cuddle up, and I can tell that they're different because, what did he say? Because of their markings or something. I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, look, I get having pets that are like, Like, for a while, I used to watch a tarantula YouTuber because I was extremely scared of spiders. It was exposure therapy a little bit, you know. Gets you used to them, lets you understand their behaviors. I get like having a pet, like a science, for like the science side of it, right? Like where you are, you're interested in the molting process. You're interested in, you know, preserving their habitats, shit like that. I get sciencey, creepy, scary pets. But leeches? I mean, what are you getting out of that? Really? How is it? It's a low maintenance pet. Really much of an argument. So what? You let it feast on you, and then just stick it in a jar for half a year. Crazy stuff. Crazy. Check it out. Our leechies. Enjoy. Have fun. Wasn't there a Necro Elite skill that had a picture of a leech? Maybe. Maybe. Did he cover the specs yet? No, I'm about to now. All right, sorry. Do you know what? If you don't like the tangents, there's the door. Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another video. It's time. It's the third batch, the third wave. Today we're looking at the engineer. We're looking at the elementalist, who of course I'm very excited about, and of course hopefully Liz is very excited about here. And we're looking at the engineer, elementalist, and the revenant. So hopefully Arenanet saved the best for last. I actually thought last week's were pretty good mostly. Antiquary's a really iffy one maybe, but overall, I think especially with the Ritualist, they did super well. Let's see what they have in store for us. So just before I read this blog post and before we go over the trailer on these, I'm just going to explain what I know about them already. First of all, they announced weeks ago, one of the very first announcements was that the Elementalist was called the Evoker. It also appeared in the main trailer for the expansion with like a little pet, like a little elemental pet. I thought it was big and in the background, but I think it's little. Now, what I'm really excited about with it is the idea of having a pet. If it's a full-blown pet, that'll be amazing. But what I want is something that like shifts elements with me. I think that could be quite cool and quite interesting. Maybe they'll add an F5 where you can control it. I don't really know what to expect there. I don't really know what the lore is going to be there. I've tried to keep myself in the dark about this. The blog post is about 12 hours old, though. And someone left a comment saying that the lore really got them interested in it when they weren't before. So that's my guesses and my thoughts about the Evoker, which we know a bit about. Then we have two icons. We don't really know which is which. And two names for the engineer and the rev. One is the Amalgam, and one is the Conduit. My guess is that the engineer is the Amalgam, and it's about like merging things. I think it'll be the one that looks like an atom, and we're fusing particles together or something. I don't know. And then the rev is the Conduit. And if I'm right that the rev is the Conduit, it's kind of a weird name because, I mean, we're always communing with other stuff. It's kind of just another way of saying Revenant, right, in a way. I mean, Revenant is kind of the bad name. Revenant means to come back from the dead. I mean, I guess the spirits from the mists are kind of doing that in a way. So anyway, I don't know. But if it is the Conduit, I guess the icon is like the thing I thought was a fist. I'm guessing is now more of like a trident, like a lightning rod, something like that. So that's it. Oh, okay. And then also for the rev, I do unfortunately already know a spoiler. In the process of setting up this video, I grabbed the screenshots, I grabbed the trailer, and I did see, of course, the concept art for the rev. And I only looked at it for about a fraction of a second, but it's a very, very obvious silhouette. I'm 99% sure that the rev legend is Raza. Wow. Now, some of you guys listening to me, you'll be like, Raza, who, what, don't care. We'll talk about it when we get to that section, I guess. But that's quite interesting and exciting too. It's funny, because last week, the Balance devs said, hey, nobody has guessed this. I'm pretty sure I've seen people guess it. You know, I threw up a post on Blue Sky saying, look, isn't that an alarm bell? If nobody's guessed it, surely it's something people will have guessed what they want. So if they haven't guessed it, surely we're going to get something people don't want. I'm pretty sure people guessed it. I think someone in my own Discord guessed Raza. I know I had a recent conversation about Raza. So anyway, good. Congrats to you guys if you managed to get that right. I guess we'll see that when we get to the section. Let's just jump straight on in with the blog post and the trailer nice and early, as we have done. Obviously, in the background there, I'm on the Festival of the Four Winds. These are the Paragon skills. So here we go from last week. The final 3 elite specializations, say Arenanet. The Elementalist, the Engineer, and the Revenant. So, and then they just throw us straight into the chat. Okay, so we'll do the chat. Isn't this even earlier than normal? What about an introductory paragraph? All right, so let's see what we got. I'm going to be mostly quiet while I watch this, because this is blind for me. This is my first time.
Peggy 12.
Evocation was a veiled practice among Norn shamans, but the spirits of the wild have encouraged them
fiery.
to share this practice with Tyria. Evokers channel the elements to summon forth a familiar to join them in battle.
Oh my god, a frog!
A cunning fox familiar to throw flaming projectiles at your enemies. Call forth a gentle otter and quench the battlefield with cleansing waves. Electrify the scene with a hair cast from lightning and storm. And break ground with the help of an earthen toad, fortifying yourself. These familiars will be your strongest allies in battle. Protect them as they protect you. And help the spirits of the wild connect once again with the greater world as the Evoker.
So Spirits of the Wild stuff, eh?
Asuran ingenuity has done it again with the creation of the mercurial mold, an amalgam
nice, so I got it.
Microbial biology to their new ferrofluid friend to enhance their body in battle. Shred your enemies as you throw out globs of slime to form flying discs that cut anything in their path.
Whoa.
Command your ooze to form around you as you melt to avoid incoming attacks.
Oh my god,
And
with the
deal out damage to
T1000 and one?
enemies that stand too close. And don't
Sorry,
forget
what is the robot in Terminator 2? Is it the T2000? T3000?
the enemy as you cleave them with a blunt mold. As an amalgam, bond with your mold and adapt to the ever-changing battlefield.
I like the look of that.
A mysterious entity is at play. Raza has been watching Tyria from the mists. Channel their powers, assume different forms, and devastate the battlefield as a conduit. Channel Raza and gain ascension skills. Gain their powers, but only for a limited time. Learn their abilities to better understand the best path to victory.
Ascension
Through your connection
skills.
to the assassin, warrior, mesmer, monk, and dervish. Unleash powers that have not been seen since the legends themselves. Through your connection to Raza, find strength, resilience, courage, and purpose as the conduit.
Oh my god, so much to say that. Hold on, with the Raza thing. So it's buffing the other legends in some way or another. That's really cool. I like the thought of that. It's interesting. Did they just pair Malix with Mesmer? Wow. Very excited to see that. The Quicksilver thing, I think, looks quite good. I will do commentary on each individual thing, I guess, as we're on the section. Oh my god, this trailer more than any of the other trailers had 1,000 things popping through my head. All right, let's see what Arenanet say. Let's jump in. Who are they going to do first? Evoker, I guess? Today, here's the introductory paragraph. Today we're unveiling the final 3 elite specializations coming to the Visions of Eternity. If you missed our previous reveals, make sure to check out the elite spec blogs for the Mesmer, the Ranger, the Guardian, the Thief, the Necromancer, the Warrior. Before we dive into the details of the Revenant, the Elementalist, and the Engineer, make sure you tune in on our Twitch channel on this Friday on August 8th for a live preview, blah, blah, blah. Okay, good. All right, the Evoker. First of all, I think I remember... Didn't I say on the video with Boots that I can imagine that bunny icon being fiery? It looks so good, doesn't it? With an exception of the fact that some of the icons don't really seem appropriate. Like, are the cards appropriate for the Scriptmancer? Also known as Antiquary. Is the shield appropriate rather than a lantern for the Luminary? that aside, all the icons look amazing, don't they? I think they look so good. It's great to see that classic Ellie back. Look at her. Dude, is she wielding that Hodgins scepter as well? Emberglow or whatever. So, one of the thoughts I had about this, watching that trailer there, I actually had this thought already. When I realized that the animals were really little... I don't want to be too much of a downer about this. I'm kind of satisfied already with having little familiars and things attached to me, or little objects attached to me. You know, especially on Ellie. And like when I think about Catalyst, we've already kind of done the thing with little animals that we're summoning, right? We get the dragon in air, we get the phoenix in fire. I don't have any energy right now, but you know, you get the turtle in earth, the Kirin in water. So hopefully this feels distinct from that, you know? Hopefully this feels... I don't know, I guess this, for multiple now, I've said, oh, I'd love it to just be a full-blown pet, right? And it doesn't look like we're doing that. So, the Evoker, let's see what they say. Spiritual Summoners. Having toppled the powerful Jotun civilization in the previous Dragon Rise, Jormag was poised to claim the Shiver Peaks. That's really interesting. They just said Jormag killed the Jotun. I mean, I guess that's true. The real story of the fall of the Jotuns about, you know, their loss of magic and infighting and stuff, though, right? Anyway, to claim the Shiver Peaks and beyond when they woke once again. However, as the dragon's influence crept south of the mountainous crown, displacing various Coden sanctuaries, it collided with the stalwart and courageous resolve of the Norn and their ever-watching guides, the spirits of the wild. Despite their resistance, Jormag's campaign left lasting scars on many of the spirits, consuming or corrupting those that held the line. We saw that in the Icebrood saga, of course. In the years since Jormag's defeat, the Norn have made strides to reconnect and commune with the spirits. Many now turn to old practices that harken to a time when the first pacts that entwined both groups in spiritual harmony were spoken. The centuries-old tradition of the Evoker. So it's like it's a part of Norn culture. Evoker's a really interesting word, because when we all first heard that weeks ago now, you know, I don't think I will have been alone. Many of us went and looked up where it had historically been used in the franchise. Like if you run the word Evoker on the Guild Wars 1 wiki search, you might expect to see like a White Mantle Evoker or a Massart Evoker or a Forgotten Evoker or something, you know. Which even then wouldn't really tell you much, you know, a Ministry of Purity Evoker. But it might be some small clue. But there's so little. Evoker is such a, rare word. So I feel like this is all kind of new ground that we're breaking, a new little element of Tyria's history that we're learning here. Drawing upon the forces of the natural world, these Norn elementalists call upon spiritual companions and empower them with elemental energies. At the spirit's behest, the Norn have been encouraged to share this practice beyond their own to help restore and heal Tyria's nature spirits. One of the big things that my mind goes to here is, you know, there's been so much discussion lately about the Dervish and how it's incompatible with Guild Wars 2 because the human god channeling thing is too human specific. The avatar thing is too human specific. No one wants to accept the idea that the humans could just share this practice with the other races of the world. But look here, I mean, Arenanet just gave you that exact story. This is Asura channeling spirits of the wild because the Norn gave it to them. And we're just going to handwave that. And most people will just accept this story and say, well, yeah, that's fine, that makes sense. So what goes through my mind is, well, surely you'd accept that for the Dervish too. Maybe it's because they have big plans with the gods and there's some element of selfishness and priority for humans that they want to talk about or something. Anyway, first time we get proper Norn lore and we get to share it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like the idea. I think they have justified it in story. I'm not going to sit here and say Norn have always been my favorite because they haven't. But, you know, at least when I look at these little creatures, then I'm looking at... I know I'm looking at spirits of the wild, I suppose. Damaged, corrupted, changed as they might be. So what do they do, though? So this paragraph, this section might be slightly more mechanically oriented. Familiar friends, every Evoker starts with a choice. Which I already love the sound of this. This first sentence is ringing all my bells. Every Evoker starts with a choice. Which element do you want to specialize in? Because I'm someone that believes in, elite specs that do exactly that. Or give you new elements, you know, give me an acid element, give me a steam element or whatever. Selecting an elemental skill on the F5 slot will specialize in that element. Wow, that's really interesting. That's kind of a new way of handling Buildcraft, right? Give you a new slot and you slot it. Granting a few new... Oh, I wonder if the Rev is about to do this too. I wonder if the Conduit's going to do the same. I slot a legend for Raza to pick, to boost. Anyway, first the attunement skill for that element will have a significantly reduced recharge time. Okay. In addition, some of the Evoker's traits and utility skills will be affected by your chosen element, so a bit like glyphs. And most importantly, a familiar of that element will join you on your adventures. Fire specialists will be accompanied by the Cunning Fox. Water join, so it's not going to be elementally shifting, which was one of my little hopes. That was a very personal thing, you know, I'm not going to hold it against the game for not doing that. Fire specialists will be accompanied by the fox, water by the mischievous otter, air by the agile hare, while earth gets the stalwart toad. The familiar has 2 different skills that are available in the F5 slot once they are fully charged. A basic skill and an empowered skill. The basic skill is charged as the Evoker uses weapon skills, requiring a total of 6 to fully charge. It's funny, we see a lot of relic design, ramping relic design that does similar stuff to this, right? Weapon skills that match the familiar's element will count for double, meaning that only 3 fire skills will be required to fully charge the fox. The familiar's empowered skill will unlock after using its basic skill 3 times, and that's when the Evoker and their familiar unleash their full potential. Okay, so I go weapon skill, basic familiar, weapon, basic familiar, weapon, and then I go Super Saiyan or whatever, right? I like that. I've liked all these new weapons, like when they added like mace to Ranger. I've liked all these things where you have like these mini ramping features baked within. The Evoker is a flexible specialization capable of filling a number of roles depending on which element you pick to specialize in. Those leaning towards fire may choose to focus on condition damage, as the fox will complement those builds well. What I think I like the sound of this. Really interested in that. Very excited about the stream in a couple of days. What I think I saw in the trailer was something a bit similar to the Gale shot. If you guys watched the Gale shot coverage, it was like every few projectiles, like bonus projectiles, were getting rained down. I swear I saw the fox doing that just now. So we might see something similar there. So this is going to favor anything with quick weapon skills, right? You don't want to do long channels. It's a big sorry to the Meteor Shower Staff fans, even though you can like quadricast that nowadays. You want to be executing stuff quick. Nice low ICDs or non-existent ICDs if you can cheat them out by queuing something else. Cancel cast spam. Are we going to go to Elder Scrolls Online gameplay a little bit? I like it. Okay. I don't know what I'm looking at here. Oh, is that the ultimate? Is the ultimate all of the spirits doing stuff all at once? Is that what it is? I see earth. I see plasma. I see, you know, I see fire. I see lightning. I see water. It's funny how often in LE design they end up doing something like this, right? Like something that combos all the elements. Catalyst had it on the hammer. I know the hammer isn't necessarily a part of Catalyst anymore. You know, you got the Weaver Elite. We got this thing. Fiery foxes. Oh my God, they're still talking. Okay, I thought we were moving on from the section. The fox's basic attack skill is called Ignite. When it activated, the fox will launch a fiery missile at your target, dealing some damage, inflicting... Is it instant activation? Inflicting burn... You know, like when I use the flip over... Like I'm in game right now. If you look at the skill bar at the bottom, when I use my elemental and I use the flip over, it's instant, right? It doesn't overlap with my other stuff. It's just a command, really. After using Ignite 3 times and hopefully inflicting a good chunk of burning, Evokers will gain access to the Fox's empowered skill, Conflagration. Using this skill will summon the Fox near your target, after which it will perform a leaping strike that inflicts burning and also spreads any burning from that target to nearby enemies, up to a limit. We thought that spreading 1,500 burning stacks might be a bit too powerful. Let me read that again. Using the skill, it will leap and do burning and spread burning from that target to nearby enemies. So it's burning epidemic. It's epi for burning. Why is that number so high, though? 1,500 burning stacks. What are they talking about there? A 50-man meta where everyone's burning? I see. So we get a condition-specific epi. Arenanet? That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. You can put that on some other specs in other places. Very nice. I like that. And conflagration, by the way. By the way. Spirits of the Wild. Nature spirits from Guild Wars 1. One of the nature spirits was the spirit of conflagration. Cheeky little connective tissue there with the theme. I like that. This is one where the details will be what sinks or swims it, I think, for me. If it has quickness on it, I may finally have something that's not just running around on Catalyst all the time for standard play. Very nice. All right. Okay, next. Next. Now, so I guessed right here, this is the Amalgam. Not that it was a very hard guess, all right? This is the Amalgam. Jesus, the chart looks... Okay, we've already established that the characters that appear in this concept art are the ones from the original slate, right? I don't remember his hair looking like that. That guy's been to the been to the hairdressers. Look at him. Oh my god. His horn looks awesome too. All the colours and everything. The art is so good. Okay, I think there were a few guesses going into this that this was going to be Quicksilvery. Brilliant guesses. Everyone who went on the Quicksilver line, you're geniuses. That's what it is. I think this is good. I like NG specs that take like a technology, take an idea, whether that be holotech for the hollow smith, or Quicksilver, I guess, as we've got here, whether it's mechs and Golomancy or whatever, Golomancy tangent. Let's say Jade Tech. Jade Tech really is the mechanist thing, isn't it? I think that's a great way to handle elite specs, and their themes, there are so many they can go for. I really, really like that. The Amalgam, oozing with power. Obviously a good fit with the Juggernaut, too. Asuran scientists have studied... Was he using the Juggernaut in the trailer, or was that was a weapon skill, wasn't it, we saw? You might not want to use the Juggernaut in the trailer, because you might not want to confuse people about what they're looking at. But it will fit, it will go so hard. Asuran... Okay, can I just say, personal touch. There is one reason I don't really like playing NG. It's because I hate Grenade Kit. I hate a hidden cooldown that I have to tediously and constantly swap into to throw Grenade 2 out. Grenade Kit killed NG for me in recent years. I know not everyone's going to agree with that or feel the same way, but it's always like, when I play NG, I'm like having fun, and then I think, how can I play this a little bit better? And it's, put Grenade Kit on. And then I don't want to play it. So if this gives me a reason, like, I don't have to feel bad for not having Grenade Kit. I'll be very happy. Not that I expect that. Anyway, oozing with power. Asuran scientists have studied, manipulated, transformed, and occasionally displaced oozes at every level of scientific research. Endlessly adaptable. Oozes can absorb the property... Oh. Wait. We're not talking about actual oozes, are we? It's not like a meme thing. I want to see the word Quicksilver. Endlessly adaptable, oozes can absorb the properties of substances and living creatures they come into contact with. And a recent breakthrough has allowed them to be used as a powerful tool for both defense and offense. The mercurial mold is a special species of ooze. It literally oozes. It's an oozemancer. Okay, I'm going to have to chew on that. I half love it. Actually, I think the scales are tipping. I think I really love it. I think that's hilarious. But why not go the whole way? Why do it silver and all that? Come on. Maybe there are green ones. Maybe there are red ones. Maybe it's all kaleidoscopic and rainbows. I mean, it would fit into enough of the game's aesthetic at this point. The mercurial mold is a special species of ooze that can... I mean, I would have... If I was going to do this, I would have called it an oozemancer. You got to own it at a certain point, right? Can form a symbiotic bond with its owner and interpret their needs in battle. Oh, it's like an AI, guys. But they won't say AI because of the moral panic about AI. So it's lightweight, responds instantly, requires no special feeding, and best of all, No fatalities have been reported as a result of the bonding process. Why not give it a try? You bond with an ooze. Oh my god. Can it feed on you? Maybe once or twice a year? Okay, so I'm going to assume that is not the Juggernaut. I'm going to assume that these are their animations. Slime time. Bonded with their mercurial mold, amalgams are engineers. So what's the gameplay here? With unparalleled adaptive capabilities. Being adaptive is like the engineer's MO, right? By being able to freely customize which morph skills they select, you can arrive to any fight with the right tools to survive and dish out damage. Amalgams can temporarily meld with their slime, resulting in an altered or even mutated form. Is it like loads of transformations? Oh, we didn't see that in the trailer, though. An amalgam's experimentation results in a malleable fighter that can always find the edge in combat. This isn't saying anything, though, Arenanet. There's not actually any gameplay info there. Amalgams replace the engineer's utility... Here it is. Amalgams replace the utility tool belt abilities with morph abilities. There are several morph skills, and you can select which ones to fight with in the same manner you select your utility skills. Ah, okay. Can I just say one thing I haven't noted in any of my coverage of this wave of elite specs, but has been well worth talking about the whole time, and I failed by not talking about it really, is with EOD, obviously we had the Untamed, and we had this new idea of selecting even weapon skills. The idea that you can make certain slots customizable that were not classically customizable. That's a very powerful thing, and I think it was well within people's rights to wonder if that was going to happen this wave too. That's a great thing to have expected and wondered about. And here we have it, right? I mean, it's for tool belt skills, not weapon skills, but, you know, I think that's really cool. So I guess when you're Arenanet and you're thinking about replacing the tool belt skills, you're thinking about how much work it is to replace so many abilities and to create so many. You can't do the insane Weaver dual skill thing every time, right? So, so you're looking at ways to not have to do that. So just providing a selection and letting someone customize them. There you go. So I wonder how many they've done. Do you think it'll be in the... I reckon it'll be in the ballpark of about 8. Because that's about as many as they could get on the Antiquary for their stolen abilities. Slightly different situation, obviously, but... So there are several morph skills. You can select which ones to fight with the same manner you select your utility skills. The morph skills command the mercurial mold to shapeshift into different forms, such as shield, defensive spikes, or even a massive sword. That last sentence lowers my enthusiasm a little, because it does feel... Didn't we just do this with the Antiquary? But you're not stealing them now. You're not stealing them. You're morphing them. Okay? It's different. So, like, why does the Antiquary get the sword, get the guitar, and this guy get the sword? Could we reverse that? No. Morphing is a very different thing. Don't ask that question. Okay. I like the shader. Do you know what? It's very Metal Mario from Mario 64, isn't it? Become one with the mold. Your elite tool belt skill is replaced by Evolve. Really? Evolve briefly combines the engineer and mercurial mold into one being, granting... Oh, there is kind of a transformation, granting a host of benefits. These benefits, however, are unique to each slime. As you select your morph abilities, your mercurial mold's composition is altered to also change what happens when you evolve. So the combo of the first tool belt skills I pick gives me a unique F5. These compositional shifts, called strains, and I guess that's a keyword when it comes to traits, can vary from granting super speed and quickness to stunning nearby enemies when you evolve. This looks like a very fun build crafty one. Really, really keen on this for the beta. Amalgam's utility skills are like stances. Sorry, not like stances, they are stances. The mercurial mold can assist you shift your form, making you as dense as steel or as light as a feather. With the skill Liquid State, you can even melt down into a puddle. I think we saw that in the trailer, didn't we? Oh, and then it's over. Okay. I like the theme. I expect they'll have some crazy OP effects on it, what we've seen from the other streams recently, and then they'll balance them down as time goes by. Yeah, I would play this. It seems pretty fun. And it seems an interesting sort of new buildcrafty thing. I'm just trying to think about buildcraft websites, whether they're going to get annoyed because they're going to have to update the UI in some way to account for what tool belt skills people are going to select. Okay, and then finally, oh man, we're at the end, guys. Oh, this is it, number 9. Number 9. So once we've read this, we know them all. We can do good tier lists. And I want to hear your opinions, everyone, in the comments. You know, so I can maybe snapshot a few. We can do some Q&A. So here it is. So that's Raza right there. I mean, it can't be anyone else. That is Raza wielding, like, so that concept art with that eclipse, if you will. That eclipse weapon looks amazing. It looks fantastic. That is such a cool element of the concept art. I will note that is not a part of the elite spec. That is just a scepter in-game already. It's like a gem store scepter. So it's not like we're going to go in-game, I think, and get that. Unless I'm mistaking it and, you know, it's a staff that's on the gem store and he's going to get the scepter version or something. But nonetheless, so just so that everyone knows, all right, I'm not the biggest Raza fan. Not really. I think people instinctively will say, oh, WP loves every Guild Wars 1 reference. This is another Guild Wars 1 reference here. And I do to an extent, like by default. But Raza is not the most interesting character to me. I'll give you a little anecdote. Years ago, before Guild Wars 2 even came out, there was a community event being hosted in the Henge of Den Ravi. I can't remember what it was called anymore. It was like a guild used to run it every year. Maybe someone in the comments can remind me. I think it was called like Masart Fest or something. I don't know. I can't remember. Anyway, it was in the Henge of Den Ravi. And some Arenanet employees, I went to it once ever. Some Arenanet employees turned up. And people started asking them questions about Guild Wars 2 because Guild Wars 2 was coming out. And they were answering what they could and having fun with the community. It became this big thing, like a big live Q&A, impromptu there in Guild Wars 1. And I remember the entire time, maybe 4 hours of this event, there was one guy in chat, and I'll never forget it, who kept saying... seriously, guys, this was like 2010 or something, all right? Well, I'm talking about 15 years ago. There was a guy saying, will Raza be in Guild Wars 2? Will Raza be in Guild Wars 2? Will Raza be in Guild Wars 2? And getting ignored every time. And the entire time he spammed that. And the entire time, all I could think was, Raza doesn't matter that much. And clearly the devs didn't think he mattered that much because he wasn't in it originally. Raza is interesting. Okay, so basically after Nightfall ends, you find out there's this thing. It seems to have been maybe created. It's like a construct that was being built in the realm of Torment. Probably a party to Abaddon, but like it hadn't got to the point that it had been indoctrinated or taught anything. So it was kind of just like a blank slate. And there were naturally some questions to that. Like, what is this entity? What does it do? What does it think? Why is it here? What was Abaddon's plan? And so there is, and you know, it's potentially immortal. It could be around 250 years in the future. Could be off having adventures in the mists. Practically, as far as the game was concerned, it was designed to be the final hero, an optional hero at the end that you could miss, and it was a hero with a variable profession. Now, they never managed to release the game with a variable profession, so it was actually a ritualist. For years, it was a ritualist, and then right in Guild Wars 1's Twilight, they finally made it variable. But so to me, Raza was always a ritualist, really. And he had no personality. As far as his actual comments, he was just asking questions about the world. And what he actually was, guys, Guild Wars 1 was full of tongue-in-cheek pop culture references. And Raza is a carbon copy of Star Trek The Next Generation's Data. Do you guys you remember Data, the android from TNG? Data is unquestionably one of the best Star Trek characters ever made. Brilliantly portrayed by Brent. I've never known how to say his second name. Spiner. Absolutely excellent. A really cool character. I love Data. And so I got a kick out of Raza dropping Data quotes everywhere. But that's all he is. He's Data. So, you know, I like Raza, and it's cool. I'm not, like, buzzing with excitement. I'm interested to see what they do with the lore, and I'm very interested to see whether I'll be getting Data quotes while playing as him, right? If I'm going to channel this legend, am I going to get Data speaking to me? That would be amazing. So let's see what they do. Obviously, there's all the mechanics and stuff too. Let's see what Arenanet say about the lore. Look, just by default, the idea of another character that knew the GW1 hero, who's been around for 250 years, and out in the mist having adventures, a sense in theory. I mean, we don't know. He was on Tyria with us before. Let's see what it says. The Conduit, channeling the past. Centuries ago, the hero who defeated... Like, they're jumping straight into it here. Centuries ago, the hero who defeated the fallen god Abaddon met a strange entity, imprisoned deep within the realm of torment. Raza, a being born of the mists. Freed by Abaddon's death to seek their own purpose in life, Raza chose to accompany the hero across Tyria. Their boundless curiosity led them to study and master any number of martial and magical disciplines. There you go. So what they're referencing there is the variable profession and stuff. Hopefully this little history lesson was useful to you guys. But Raza's story seemed to have ended with their companions. No one has seen or heard from them since. They may have returned to the mists to wander, or fallen to the corruption they once feared. They might have learned to mimic human behavior precisely enough to live 100 lives in obscurity. Or they could have been watching our world, still learning and waiting for someone like you. This is all kind of fun, but Arenanet, I kind of consider it up to you to answer these questions now, not just keep them there. Surely now's the time to write a story. What's he been doing? Don't just tell me it's still a mystery. That's a cop-out. All right, there he is. With his big, you know, that's the big icon as you tune to him. Floating over his head. His proportions seem a bit weird. Do you know what? He actually reminds me a bit of Kratos. The body. Just the body. From recent God of War. Harness the mists. After the complexity of having two different legends in the form of Saint Victor and Archimedes in End of Dragons, we wanted to focus on a single legend that offered an equally unique experience. As a denizen born of the mist, Raza is the first living legend to assist the Revenant in their adventures. So he's still alive. Is that what they're saying? Which is funny, because Jarlis turned to stone, but if he's still around... I mean, do we have a definitive end for Jarlis? I can't really remember. All the stuff at the end of the Icebreed Saga kind of blurs together to me a little bit. With the... There was like the Fallen King, wasn't there? A destroyer called the Murderer of the Fallen King or something? Which could have been Jarlis. With the Conduit, we wanted to portray the multifaceted nature of Razad's unique link to the Mists. Thus, the Elite Specialization was designed to have a malleability and flexibility that reflects Raz's ability to transform into any profession. Yeah, it's funny that they've paired these last three together, because they all feel like brethren, don't they? With this malleability angle. By amplifying the Revenant's connection to the Mists, the Conduit can tap into a deeper well of power through the legends they choose to channel, further augmenting their existing strengths. So yeah, I talked about this a lot. I like the idea of a Rev legend that gives you multiple legends, but we do have to accept the fact that that was already a thing in EOD. But they did it where like a legend was a toggle. It wasn't like you actually had three, right? So what have they done here? Okay, so we're like roaring, we're communing, we're flexing, we're stretching, something like that. Legendary Affinity. As the Conduit, you get... And by the way, I think that name is justified for Raza. If Raza's tapping into lots of other legends, I think it's a great name, actually. You gain the ability to use Cosmic Wisdom, allowing you to further channel the powers of your equipped legend, giving rise to different forms. Different forms. As an example, using Cosmic Wisdom with Legendary Assassin stance equipped gives you access to Form of the Assassin, granting the Conduit bonus power and movement speed, as well as inflicting debilitating conditions on foes you strike. So they're not like new skills. It's not like another version of Shiro. It's sort of some buffs. Cosmic Wisdom only lasts for a limited amount of time, but it can be extended through the use of Affinity. So we're playing Monster Hunter now, right? Crit damage? That's what Affinity is, isn't it? Or is it Crit Chance in that game? I can't remember. Affinity is a new resource that represents the strength of your connection to your legend. Affinity can be gained through using any legendary skill that costs energy. Each point of affinity you gain increases the duration of Cosmic Wisdom by a set amount. However, you lose all affinity when you swap legends. I see. So the flow is go into a legend, spend a bunch of energy, thus charging your affinity, and then do the affinity thing. So you sort of go in and then you have a big blowout mode, a big final phase, and then you swap out again. The trick is going to be, okay, if I've blown all my energy to get the affinity, what am I actually going to do once I've got the buff? So maybe affinity gives me energy back via some traits or something. I don't know. When I unleash, so to speak. Thanks to the power, or it's like you have a mini burst mode after each legend. Thanks to the power of Raza, conduits gain access to legendary entity stance. Bringing with the... See, this is the weird thing as well, right? So, like, one of my legends is going to be Raza, right? So... bringing with them various skills that harken back to when they wandered Tyria as a hero. Each skill and legendary entity stance has an effect called Resonance. It's a bonus that comes into play if the corresponding legend is equipped in the other slot. Each skill is... each skill has Resonance. It comes into play if you're equipped in the other slot. For example, Beguiling Haste, that's an assassin skill from the original, applies to Daze. Normally shadow steps you to your target while becoming a quick attack. While performing a quick attack on them. However, when Legendary Assassin Stance is equipped as your second legend, the skill becomes an AoE, allowing conduits to shadow step even without a target and strikes all enemies in the vicinity. That's funny they have that design in there, because last week on the Antiquary, they had a shadow step skill that was supposed to be an escape, but it was only to a target, which makes it really bad as an escape. Like, yes, you could use it on an ambient mob if there's one around, or if you're in World versus World to a gate or a wall if there's one around. But that's not reliable. It's not even available in like PvP as a format. It's not available all the time in PvE. It's just wonky. But here they've actually lent into it, so that's interesting. Oh, what? But I don't understand. No, not live stream this Friday. No, come on, give me another one. Ah. All right, this one I can't get my head around at first glance. Blind, first impressions. This one's tricky to imagine and figure out. Big one for the stream, I think. But it's a good idea. I like it. It's clever. I think the theme works. I think the name works. I think picking Raza, talking about how Raza could swap professions, and this is leaning into those. And, you know, it's funny. If Raza was a party to the Guild Wars 1 hero, many of those characters he could have, like, been in the vicinity of. I mean, Shiro's a bit of a question mark because factions had already happened, but maybe he saw him while he was in the Temple of Madness or something. I don't know. The Temple of Abaddon, sorry. At the Gate of Madness. Or was he still in a pod? He wasn't quite a life form yet at that point. I don't know. Anyway, I could sort of see it. I really can. I think that's a fun idea. It's another big Guild Wars 1 idea, and I know not all of you guys are huge boosters and huge fans of that. But yeah, okay, first impressions, my rating of these three. They're kind of all on par, and that's not like a negative thing for me, that they're all on par. I think they're all equally interesting, and they're all okay. So I'm going to give it to Evoker, purely because I quite like playing Ellie at the moment. The Amalgam is so funny. They did a Quicksilver thing. Why isn't the icon an ooze? What? What's this weird atom sort of icon? Screw that. That should be an ooze. I mean, I guess it kind of looks a bit oozy. If they rounded the tips of those... And I mean, I guess there's an oozy blob in the middle. Yeah, this is going to come so down to the gameplay, guys. I don't know whether I can rate these last three and do a full tier list until I see the next stream. So, you know, for the other 2 weeks, I haven't really done a dedicated cover of the streams. I have given my thoughts on them over on the live tab. So check out the VODs. I've got, especially on last week's, I've got loads and loads and loads that I've talked about with it. I might do a dedicated video on it with maybe a tier list in there. Some community feedback. Drop your comments, guys, and we will do something on these last three. And a bit of a sum up. Let me know what you think. Thanks very much for watching. It's been really fun covering this with you all. It's cool to have Elite Specs back. It definitely is. If that gives you some value for the expansion, if any of these look fun and you're going to buy it, please do remember in the very top of the description I have a link. And if it doesn't cost you anything, but if you click that before you buy it, it supports the channel. So please do consider that at any point. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. Seriously, I'll be in the comments. Check out the live tab for a longer edition of this. And I'll see you on the next one very soon. Take care, guys. Ta-ta for now. All right. Hello. Hello. Oh. All right, let's get some questions here. Shrek says, will Raza be in Guild Wars 3? Yeah, we should do that when the unannounced project is announced. We should keep asking that. Yeah, I only said bye so I could cut the YouTube video bit. The stream is still here. Exactly, yeah. You could go have a loo break. You know what? I could do a toilet break at a moment like that. I don't know, though. I've sort of said a lot here. It's now 4 a.m. Yeah, those three, I don't know. I have to sit and chew on them all. I think it really comes down to the stream for these three. The themes are all okay. And that's all we can really judge right now, right, really? I like the idea behind the Amalgam a lot. Where you get that you can customize the slots to such a degree. I really like the idea of the Ellie one as well, where we're dedicating an attunement. It's funny they said Conduit for fire. Because they could have easily said flat damage for fire, Conduit, i.e. bleeds, for earth. But maybe reversing that's kind of fun. Maybe flat in earth is kind of an interesting idea. Who would win in a fight, the Skrit or the Ooze? Well,
Technically, the Skrit doesn't actually do any fighting. He just digs things up and runs away.
so the Ooze. What do we think about Assassin, Monk, and Dervish being in the Conduit? Yeah, I didn't even acknowledge that. They're all the Guild Wars 1 profession names, aren't they, that they just said? Guild Wars 1 professions. I don't really think very much about it. Does what's the mindset there, that it's going to take them as full-fledged things off the table? If that's the thinking, I don't really believe that. I think it's fine. The Skim Asylum begins in 2 minutes. We could do that. I don't really know what to say for a wind down here today, guys, because you know, we did a lot of ranting before on this one. Ooze would win a Skrit because they'd suffocate it. I don't think we can be that simple about it. Simplistic. Okay, hold on. The Skrit would win because it would steal lots of little pieces off of the Ooze until the Ooze is no more.
There's so much to see and do.
I don't know. Oh, I got a little thing I was going to mention earlier. You know this idea that you couldn't have the Skrit as a pet because it's wrong to call a Skrit a pet? Can I just say, it's one, and you know, it's a sapient life form. Hold on, it's not really though, is it? It's one Skrit, all right. Look, now I don't know how to discuss human rights, right, and autonomy, and you know, respect and all that kind of stuff afforded to you know, a hive mind-esque life form like a Skrit, all right. But much as the Asura were experimenting on individual Skrit, you know, an individual Skrit, I mean, it's like a woodlouse, isn't it? It doesn't know anything. It's not smart. It's not a higher life form. It might not even perceive pain for all we know, you know? So the Asura are more than welcome to vivisect them and stab them with needles and stuff. You don't know that. So it's not demeaning to call a single Skrit a pet, all right? I'm just saying. I don't know. You know, it's not like we've gone into Skritopolis and told the king that it's their pet, you know. These aren't... It's not the same thing. Yeah, a Skrit has a kingdom in Brisbane where it can communicate supersonically really fast with the Skrit around it. But when you isolate a Skrit, it's not an intelligent life form anymore. It's like a hive mind-esque thing. It's like it's like taking someone's kidney out and saying it needs human rights. You don't know what kind of mind it has anymore. It's not the same thing. All right? There's a lot of fascinating ethical and moral discussions to be had there. All right? That's all I'm saying. You can't just blanket tell me, oh, don't call it a pet. It might love to be called a pet. All right? My dog likes being my pet. Anyway, I'm not serious, obviously. I'm sure that's not why it's not a pet mechanic. What did you call a Skrit that raps? A Skrit. It's basically just a rat. No, I think it's lower than a rat. I don't think it's just a rat. I think it's even lower than a rat. Rats are very intelligent and very nice. And I think it's very easy to be inhumane and terrible to rats, because they actually do have a great sense of who they are and what they are. And Quaggin has 300 IQ. I think Arenanet once did basically talk about the intelligence of the races, and I think it's... and to be clear, this is around launch. It's extremely predictable what they said. They said Asura at the top, with Sylvari like nearly on par, because they loved the Sylvari. You know, people talk about Scarlet being a Mary Sue or whatever, but the reality is it was the Sylvari. It wasn't just a Scarlet thing. If they ever had an opportunity to big up the Sylvari, they took it. And then it was like down below that is like the humans. Actually, I think they might have even put Char above humans, and then Char, and then Norn. Christopher Clayton has been a member for 2 months. Bro, you're a legend. Thank you so much. 2 months in a row. That's awesome. What about when an antiquarian visits Skritsburg? Well, in that situation, what I think would happen is the Skrit would realize what life it's got. It would take great offense, and it would separate itself. It would say, I don't want this anymore. I want to be treated differently. And the antiquarian might say, yeah, okay, I will. But then the antiquarian will say, okay, come on, let's go explore the world again. And that Skrit is going to say, wait, what? I'm essentially going to devolve. I'm going to lose my sense of who I am, an understanding of the world here. I'm going to shrivel away into a primitive life form. I don't want this. And the Skrit's going to say, no, I'm staying. And then their little partnership's going to break up. So I would advise antiquarians don't go to Skritsburg. That's what I would advise. No, I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? Arenanet haven't thought about any of that. I mean, actually, just to lend a voice to the Lorehounds for a second here. That is pretty bad, honestly. That they've invented a spec about having one Skrit with you. And then they don't even talk about the, the whole thing with the Skrit is that they're a collective species. That's the whole thing. But Arenanet don't think about that stuff anymore, I think. I mean, think about the whole new Gobbler thing with the quest we did with the Char that used to explore with a Skrit and stuff. Oh my god, that was an antiquarian reference. Oh my god, that guy, Gaz Leadclaw, he's an antiquarian. Oh my god, it's like Marjorie getting Belinda's greatsword in Season 2. It was there in front of us the whole time, guys. Holy shit. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, speaking of the Gobbler and the quests and all of that, just by the way, just as a little FYI, I need to finish this, I need to get the Tarkton personal delivery device. That is a reward for the Ecto Gambling achievement. You need to do 100 Ecto Gambles. I've only ever done 30. So, in my quest for AP, I need to Ecto Gamble. And I think that would be really fun to do on stream. So I don't know how expensive this would be. I mentioned on Discord that might be a fun thing to do. And people said that because of this festival, Ectos have spiked at the moment, and I shouldn't do it. I should wait for Ectos to go back down. So maybe I won't do it soon. But it's a good idea, right? So you might see an Ecto Gamble, a real old throwback on that. I might do an Ecto Gamble stream. The thing that annoys me about it in particular is like, well, no, it's alright mostly. Because I'm not going to get all the rare ones done for a long time anyway. There we go, 4-Wind Zephyr. That's the daily done. Fishing tournament in 10 minutes. This map's so good. They've got so many varieties of things to do here. Really love this place. Gambling stream with new laws being passed around. Careful. No, they don't give a shit about gambling. We were talking about that in Spud as well. They don't give a shit about gambling. They'll go on and on and on about the OSA. Actually, that wasn't in Spud, I think we were talking about that. Go on. This is absolutely insane, stupid, draconian bullshit where people are like getting doxxed and getting their driver's license leaked online and stuff. Meanwhile, kids just install a VPN that does nothing, wastes everyone's time, wastes everyone's money, compromises the country's security because of a bunch of fucking moron out-of-touch MPs that don't know anything about tech and are the cringiest shit you can possibly listen to if you watch any of their debates. We have to sit through that. Meanwhile, people who really suffer and people without much money, members of the working class, getting fucking dragged down by gambling advertisements everywhere. No one gives a shit. Yeah, gamble all your money away. Lose your house. You know, millennials are basically, we got fucking nothing. We're hoping for an inheritance. But no, you're not going to get one because your grandparents have gambled all the money away. It's disgusting. The amount of gambling ads that are fucking everywhere. The UK doesn't give a shit about gambling. Tax the companies, earn a bit of money. They don't give a shit. Oh my god. Honestly, I'm a bit grumpy lately, I must say. Fucking Labour have been such a disappointment. Look at what an abominable shambles the Conservative Party left in. You have free reign. The blank is clear. The slate is clear. Do what you want. There is no opposition anymore. But no, you're gonna do it. Oh god! And now we got reform. Oh, whatever. All right, guys. I think instead of bitching at 4 in the morning, I'm gonna jump off. Thank you very much for watching. Join me next time. Well, we'll be back to Guild Wars commentary, and yeah, if you got any thoughts, any feelings, hit me up in Discords. Always fun chat going on there. Check out the Guild Wars 3 channel. Snag a job in tech. You know, looks like a quick path to a hell of a lot of money. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Seriously, anyone who made it super late at night, that's wonderful of you all. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Oh, I did /talk instead of /wave. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye. I'm going to do the login screen from Mr. Modius as the full outro. Any excuse.